am a passionate Highlander, and I love Scotland, and I will take a stand to keep the United Kingdom together. I will give my life for my country, as my grandfather did in the First World War, and his brother Charlie. Highland Regiment, British Army, I am British forever. We will never change. We will keep our union together in the name of Jesus.
Hello, it's time to superfy. I want to talk a little about why I have changed my mind, and believe me, there is absolutely no point having a mind if you can't change it. And change it I have. Once upon a time, not that long ago actually, but back in the day, travelling around this big blue beautiful ball of a world, experiencing the obvious contrasts, tasting the edible diversity of it all, meeting up with cultures poles apart from my own normality, it would give me, and I mean this, it would give me a cosmic sense of well-being and a lot more than a pocket full of pride to tell people when asked where I came from. Now, I know there are a lot of you out there who would have answered differently from me, but I would always say that I was from the UK. Then of course I would attach Scotland towards the end of my answer, you know, to be more precise about it. I just did, it was a natural reaction, and although I felt almost exalted by being gifted with this accent, I was also very, very proud to be a native of the United Kingdom. When I got back home at the end of the 90s, I got busy laying down roots. British politics were there in the background somewhere, but after David Cameron became Prime Minister of the UK back in 2010, I started to become a wee bit of a political junkie. I started reading and watching more and more of what was going on within the Palace of Westminster and of course the Scottish Parliament. An age thing, I suppose. Alex Salmond had been announced as Scotland's First Minister, leading the SNP to victory 3 years before Cameron was forced to form a coalition with the Lib Dems, and that whole age-old world of archaic debate and fiery verbal conflict fascinated me.
What we need to do, both in Britain and Europe, is to combine the fiscal deficit reduction, which has given us the low interest rates, with an active monetary policy, with structural reforms to make us competitive, and with innovative ways of using our hard-won credibility, which we wouldn't have if we listened to the muttering idiot sitting opposite me. About the health of the health minister, who's so overexcited he might suffer a relapse, and I'm a compassionate chap. I don't want that to happen. But the Prime Minister will please withdraw the word idiot. It's unparliamentary. A simple withdrawal will suffice. We're grateful. Of course, I will replace it. I will replace it with the man who left us this enormous deficit and this financial crisis.
I was never a fan of the SNP, never. I more or less always regarded the SNP as kind of cultish, shrouded behind a veil of suspicion. And these days I still think that there are micro facets of that party continue to wear that metaphorical veil. So I'm still not a fan of the SNP. But for years now, since round about 2010, and especially after 12 years of Westminster Tory Rule, lest we forget the last 3 years of political critical mishap, I have become more ardent towards the SNP as a whole. Brexit was probably the kindling which helped light the fire, slowly incinerating my UK pride, and the arrogance I witnessed on the front benches of a Tory government whilst debating with legitimate as much of a right to be there as you, SNP members, is astonishing and disgusting.
The Honourable Gentleman, what work is being done to make sure that this place is more accessible, particularly for some of our colleagues who have a disability?
Here, here. I'm sorry, It must be something to do with my Antipodean background. Could he please repeat the question, because I didn't follow it?
Well, very popular today. I'm saying that a number of parliamentary colleagues who have disabilities do find it quite difficult getting around certain parts of the state. Given that we're doing this refurbishment work, what can be done to make sure that those with a disability are able to move around more freely and the place is accessible?
I'm really sorry. Please, could you do it very slowly in Antipodean English? Thank you.
Just give me the old answer.
I think the answer might be helped if you can reply in writing.
Since the first lockdown in April 2020, I listen to a good deal of talk radio. Must be another age thing. And occasionally, debates with reference to the Scottish question of independence will be articulated live on air, with members of the public invited by the host of the show to phone in and offer an opinion.
And when I go up there and I go in shops, which I do a lot, I shop a lot, and I get the youngsters saying to me, because they hear I've got an English accent, when I'm up there giving them work, and they say to me, oh, we want our country back. And I turn around and say to them, I want you to have your country back, mate. Have it back. And see how well you do. See how well you do. Because we give them, us down here, so much per person.
Do you?
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah.
Some believe that we are a burden.
Over 50% of the people in Scotland are living on benefits of some kind.
Well, the question that nobody can ever answer for me is, if Scotland go on their own, where are they going to get all their money from? Scotland don't have any money. Even if they got the right to draw money from the oil revenues, the oil is running out. There isn't any oil. 60% of their money is
Excuse me? They have an economy and they are in many ways quite prosperous.
Yes, but 60% of the Scottish economy at the moment is funded by the UK government.
A drain on the English economy, and there are the occasional few who believe that we should be set free, and when it all goes belly up and we all travel south to find work, then we should be told to go back to where we came from.
I mean, for goodness sakes, Scotland by itself, how's it going to survive? It has, what does it have?
Well,
what natural resources? Oil.
Oil.
And a monster in a lake.
Loch Ness.
Yeah. And
I don't
Whiskey.
know, I'm just...
And
Wimper.
whiskey.
Iron brew.
It's shite being Scottish! We're the lowest of the low! The scum of the fucking earth! The most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash that was ever shot into civilization. Some people hate the English, I don't. They're just wankers. We, on the other hand, are colonised by wankers. Can't even find a decent culture to be colonised by. We're ruled by effete arseholes. It's a shite state of affairs to be in, Tommy, and all the fresh air in the world won't make any fucking difference.
A couple of months ago, our family were on a bus, a coach, travelling to the airport of Izmir from our resort in Kushadasi in Turkey. The holiday was over. The female Jet2 airport customer service agent, I can't remember her name, well, she was sitting at the front of the coach, the microphone in the hand, explaining in a monotonish, somewhat fatigued Mancunian accent what we needed to do after entering the airport, you know, security, passport, all that stuff. And then she proceeded to ask the passengers of our coach if we could exchange any British paper currency with the pound coins that the local bus driver usually receives as tips. Now, she was talking to a busload of Scottish holidaymakers. Actually, the bus was only half full. But less than a minute after her polite request, she got back onto the mic and explained that the driver could only accept UK currency. She didn't say English notes, but she did reiterate that the Scottish notes were no good to the driver. UK paper notes were the only ones the driver would accept. The Jet2 lady was lovely. I don't believe for a minute that her request for UK notes only was in any way spiteful or vindictive. Fellow passengers just looked at each other with wide grins and the occasional giggle. Most eyebrows were raised to the expanse of the interior ceiling, but this is nothing new. This almost fickle attitude towards that cold and wet piece of England north of Carlisle is commonplace.
They don't realise how lucky they are to be a part of the UK, in my opinion.
I think the Scottish
border is about... it's probably way too high, so I'm going to go there.
I don't think there are many Scots who haven't experienced similar scenarios, and it's a shame.
What the public see is a man who has debased the office of Prime Minister, shrinked responsibility, dogged accountability and blamed his staff at every turn, presided over sleaze and corruption and tainted the very institutions of the state. In short, Mr. Speaker, this is a man... Well, they can laugh, but the public know. The public know this is a man they can no longer trust. He has been investigated by the police. He misled the House. He must now resign.
Order. You'll have to withdraw that last comment.
Mr. Speaker, I gave the evidence of the 8th of December.
Order. You're going to have to withdraw misled.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has misled the House.
Unless you withdraw, I'll have to stop, and that's not good. Just withdraw the words.
I am standing up for my constituents that know that this Prime Minister has lied and misled the House.
Give me the paper. Give me the paper. Inadvertently misled. I'll give you one more chance. As leader of the SNP, I don't want to have to throw you out. I'm going to give you this chance. Please.
Please to power. That man has misled the House.
Shut up. I'm sorry it's come to this, and I'm sorry that the leader of the party has not got the decency to just withdraw those words in order that this debate can be represented by all political leaders.
The SNP has not changed my mind. Westminster has changed my mind. A Tory government, of which we in Scotland have absolutely nothing to do with, has changed my mind. A majority of English who consistently elect ridiculous, futile and unqualified examples of the human race who have chosen to become politicians for all the wrong reasons has changed my mind. I knew that the shit was going to hit the fan as soon as that bojo in Carry had the police knocking on the big black door of number 10 only hours after they had crossed its hallowed threshold, responding to multiple complaints from nearby residents about the screaming and shouting from the flat upstairs. The man was nowhere near fit to hold the office of Prime Minister. I knew it, Scotland knew it, we knew it well before Partygate, and we knew it well before he started lying through his teeth whilst campaigning for what evolved into the biggest unmitigated disaster of all time. You got it, Brexit. And that's something else we Scots prophesied before it actually happened. We knew it was going to be a titanic train wreck. But the saddest thing of all is that they knew it too. We Scots do not suffer fools lightly. We can usually spot a dodgy from more than a mile away, and that's what makes it, for me anyway, so incredibly frustrating. I honestly cannot see a change in the attitudes of the UK's majority, the English electorate, for they seem to be almost blind to the obvious. No more.
I feel like I'm a child of the Union, that I really believe we are a family and we're better together. And I think the best thing to do with Nicola Sturgeon is ignore her. I think she's... I'm sorry, she's an attention seeker, Seb. That's what she is. And what we need to do is show the people of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales what we are delivering for them.
Who is she appealing to? Most obviously with her obnoxious comments about Nicola Sturgeon last night. Nicola Sturgeon is the First Minister of Scotland. I didn't do any calculations before. I suggested earlier that she might be the most electorally successful politician in the United Kingdom at the moment. This is the skill set that she's bringing to the table. Is that just xenophobia, or is that unkind? Is it now, as is always the case with bigotries, a narrowing of the target? So it used to be foreigners in general, or just the brown ones, and then it includes the white ones if they're in Europe, or Poland, and then France even, and now Scotland for this sort of... I need a better word. What's a better word than English nationalist? I don't know. I find that gross. I find the comments gross, and I am far from a passionate advocate of Scottish independence, but I find the comments gross and I find the reaction despicable. And that's the question, really. What is she appealing to?
I want to live in a nation which allows us not just to exist, but to live in hope. Hope for a Scottish electorate to equally merit the same democratic benefits and impunity as our English neighbours. I want to live in a nation where the Scottish people can acquire and appreciate the true form of democratic ideologies which has unfortunately been out of our reach for decades. What's that? But we have devolution?
Mr. Speaker, I really do hope that the people of Scotland listen very carefully to what the Prime Minister said, because the reality of the situation is that powers that are enshrined under the Scotland Act in 1998 are being grabbed back by this. It is a power grab, and the MPs from Scotland were not given the courtesy of even debating it last night. It is a democratic outrage. The people of Scotland will not be disrespected by this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, under the circumstances, given the disrespect that's shown, I have got no option but to ask that this House now sits in private.
Westminster can demolish devolution through the back door any time they want.
My view is that it is better for the vote to be conducted at the conclusion of questions to the Prime Minister. No, I'm not. Order. I always admit of the maximum number of votes and divisions, as the Right Honourable Gentleman should know from his experience in the House, but I hope that he will trust me that I know of what I speak. There can be a division, and it will be at the end of this session, not now. That is the end of the matter. The Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, might I ask...
No, I'm not debating. No, resume your seat. Resume your seat. Mr. Blackford, no, you're not moving anything. Resume your seat, young man. Resume your seat. No. Mr. Blackford, resume your seat. No, resume your seat. No, resume your seat. Mr. Blackford, I'm... Order! The House will have heard very clear... Order, please. The House will have heard very clearly my acceptance that there can be a vote on this matter. Order. Mr. Linden, I say to you, and I say it in the kindest possible spirit, don't tell me what the procedures of this House are. I'm telling you that there can be a vote at the end of this session and not now. I'm not conducting... Oh, no, Mr. Blackford, order, under the... Trying to get him to under the... Just into the draw. Order! Resume your seat, Mr. Blackford. Under the power given to me by Standing Order number 43, in light of the persistent and repeated refusal of the Right Honourable Gentleman to resume his seat when so instructed, I order the Right Honourable Gentleman to withdraw immediately from the House for order for the remainder of this day's sitting. He is so in... Right, he won't... Right, well, we'll have to have the vote. Very well. Very well. Very well. The pretend national liberation struggle.
I want to live in a nation where our politicians are truly benevolent. Politicians who truly believe that they can make a difference. Politicians who can pronounce Ochtar Machti correctly. But most of all, I want to live in an independent nation whose leaders realise and exploit to the max our infinite potential, because that's what it is, infinite. I want to live in an independent Scotland. And yes, I have changed my mind. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional, but that's how I feel. Thank you.
People that their voices aren't heard, they're just not represented by Westminster, and it needs to happen again. If it's not going to happen this time, then maybe next time people will realise that you need to take it more seriously.
Do you care about if Scotland became independent?
Yeah, they should be.
They should be.
Yeah. Yeah, they should let 16-year-olds vote and they should get independence if they want it. We treat them badly. They should.